Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. So I actually made this video when I was still pregnant. It's more postpartum meals that I just never got to editing and uploading. But basically to start, this is the chicken tortellini bake, and what you're going to need is some diced chicken, tortellini, Alfredo sauce, mozzarella cheese, Parmesan. It's super simple. I just recommend using your own chicken. I didn't like how the chicken tasted, so that would be the only thing I would change, is just cooking my own chicken, dicing it up, and it would be a really great meal. So yeah, I used these takeout tins to put them in, but let's get started. And yeah, you could add in bacon, chicken, whatever type of protein. You can leave the protein out, but it's very simple. Just pretty much mix everything together, pour it in the pans, and you're all set to freeze it. And then you can actually bake this from frozen, and these noodles, they're gonna cook in the sauce. So I will have all the instructions in the description box below. So I have the 2 pounds tortellini, and I'm adding the 2 jars of Alfredo sauce, and I just added some heavy cream to the jars to get the excess out. And to that, I'm adding in some minced garlic, and then I'm also adding in some shredded Parmesan cheese. It calls for a 1/4 cup, but I added way more just because yum. And then I'm also adding in some mozzarella cheese as well. I'm adding in the whole bag of frozen chicken. At first I was going to do half, but I said I might as well do the whole thing. What am I going to do with the rest of it? So then I am going to add some salt and pepper, and I'm going to give this a good mix. Now I'm just putting them into my foil pans. This is where my camera cuts off, but I ended up topping it with some Parmesan and parsley. And I just am going to put the lids on. I'm going to do the date, say what it is, and the baking instructions, and I will have that all down below in the description box for you. For this next freezer meal, it's called French onion beef casserole, and I'm going to actually try it for the first time tonight and then freeze the other half of it. And what you'll need is 1 pound of ground beef, some egg noodles, 2 cans of cream of mushroom soup, a container of French onion dip, and some Worcestershire sauce. And then you also need some French fried onions to top it with. So right now I'm just gonna brown up the ground beef first. Now I'm boiling the egg noodles, and I'm gonna undercook them a little bit because this is I'm gonna freeze half of it, so I don't want them to get too mushy when I reheat it. And then I'm browning up the ground beef with half an onion. So then when that's ready, you're just going to mix in the soup and the French onion dip and put in the oven, preheating at 400 for the last 5 minutes. Then I'll top it with the French fried onions. This one would be good, but I just don't like cream of mushroom soup, so I think that's what threw it off for me. But maybe if I would have used like a cheddar cheese soup or cream of chicken, probably would have been better. So in the future, if I would make it again, that's what I would change. But you might like cream of mushroom, so it might work for you. I mean, overall, it was good. I just didn't like the cream of mushroom taste. Making Salisbury steak patties. I'm just going to prep the patties so I have half of the prep work out of the way for when I actually make the whole meal. I'm doubling it, so the original recipe calls for 1 pound of ground beef, 1 pouch onion soup mix, 1 egg, 1/4 cup breadcrumbs, some minced garlic, and a tablespoon of dried minced onion. So I'm just going to double that and get that all mixed up, form the patties, and then freeze them. You guys, this one is a must-have. I'm telling you, my husband is always requesting Salisbury steak, and when I make it in the crock pot, it's so tender, it just falls apart. It's so good. So I highly recommend this one, and please let me know if you tried it. This recipe I make all the time. I don't ever change it. I make it the same time or the same way every time. It's just so good. And then pre-making the patties, it makes it so easy. I mean, all you do is throw it in the crock pot with the gravy mixture, which is basically, 2 cups of beef broth, 1 pouch of gravy mix, some Worcestershire sauce, and that's it. And then at the end, throw in a tablespoon of cornstarch to thicken, and boom, you got yourself some Salisbury steak and gravy. And then if you have freezer potatoes made, it's just one less step that you have to do again. So I was able to make 14 patties from 2 pounds of ground beef. And what I do is I place them on a baking sheet. I didn't have parchment paper this day, but you should put them on parchment paper. Let them freeze overnight. And then in the morning, you can just take them out, put them in a gallon-sized bag. Next freezer meal, I'm going to be making 2 cheddar meatloafs. I have 2 pounds of ground beef right here. I've made this before. It's one of our favorite meatloafs, so that's why I'm doing this one. You're gonna need ground beef, cheddar cheese. I'm using Colby Jack, but it'll be just fine. Some eggs, onion soup mix, breadcrumbs, milk. I add in a little bit of barbecue sauce, totally optional. A little bit of minced onion and minced garlic. Obviously not gonna do the topping until it comes to actually baking it the day of. So I'm just gonna get this all mixed up, form them into loaves, wrap them in saran wrap, and then put them in a gallon-sized bag and freeze them. And then the day you want to cook them, you're just gonna let them thaw out 24 hours prior, and then top it with the ketchup glaze, throw it in the oven, and you got yourself an easy dinner. The cheddar meatloaf. This is another good one that me and my husband both really like. I actually got this recipe on YouTube from another YouTuber, and it's how I've been making meatloaf ever since, basically. It's really good. I've always made it in the oven, but you can do it in the crock pot. The glaze is what's really delicious. It's like a ketchup brown sugar glaze. It's kind of gives it a sweetness. But yeah, I highly recommend this meatloaf. Goes great with some mashed potatoes. So I guess watch me mash this meat together and form it into loaves. I formed these into 2 loaves, and I labeled the bag, the date, what it is, and you want to thaw them and bake at 350 for 1 hour. This next freezer meal is French dip sandwiches, and this is a slow cooker meal. For that, you're gonna need a chuck roast. This is a little over 2 pound chuck roast. Some Worcestershire sauce, a can of French onion soup, some beef broth. I'm gonna be using the beef bouillon base to make my own. Your choice of beer. It calls for a dark beer, but I only have Modelo. And then I have a half an onion I'm gonna slice up and some minced garlic. So basically all you do is add this to a gallon-sized freezer bag and then add in your ingredients. And this was another great slow cooker freezer meal. My husband loved this one. I highly recommend it. You know, all these recipes were pretty much really good, so I recommend making all of these. I got started on this one, but these are rice-a-roni meatballs, and I'm doubling it, so I'm going to be using 2 boxes. But what you'll need basically is a box of rice-a-roni with the seasonings you're going to add in, and an egg, and then some Worcestershire sauce. So basically what you're going to do is you're going to brown these at 350 for 15 minutes. and then you're not going to completely cook them. And then you're going to put them in a pot of beef broth and some other ingredients, and you're going to let it come to a boil, and then cover and simmer for 45 minutes. At the end, you'll thicken with cornstarch. So I got a little ahead of myself and I started prepping breakfast burritos without filming, but this is basically a big mixture of scrambled eggs, turkey sausage, shredded potatoes, and peppers and onions, and I'm letting it cool down before I even stuff them in the tortillas. And then I have my bags labeled, of course. It says the date, what they are, which is sausage, egg, cheese, potato burritos. Microwave 3 to 3.5 minutes. And then like the other ones, I'm gonna wrap them in some saran wrap before I put them in the bag. And then obviously I need cheese, but I'm waiting until this is all cooled down. I'm just gonna add the cheese in with it. But right now I am going to prep beef and broccoli slow cook. It's a slow cooker meal. I'm gonna chop this up into small pieces. All you need for this is some beef broth, minced ginger, but I only have ground ginger. I'm going to add only half of what it recommends since it's ground. And then sesame oil, minced garlic, soy sauce, and brown sugar. So I'm gonna get this chopped up into small pieces, put it in a bag, get my sausage. Able to make 27 breakfast burritos. So these will come in handy real nicely in mornings. I don't want to cook myself breakfast.